Alrighty. Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Non-Classics. This is episode number 1981, and this is the 1875th Doubleshot. I got two Green Arrow trades. First up, we have the second to last trade to talk about for Mike Grohl's run for Green Arrow. Green Arrow Volume 7, Homecoming, which collects issues 51 to 62. And damn, these issues are good. Of course, you have Mike Grohl on the writing. He does do the artwork surprisingly this time. It's mostly by Rick Herberg, Sean McManus, and Frank Spinner. Though Mike Grohl does do the cover art, he doesn't do any interiors this time. And these are your stories. For the first four issues, it's basically 4 one-shot stories. Homecoming, which is the title of the trade. 51. 52 is Return of the Outlaw Prince. 53 is Old Friends. 54 is The List, The List. That's something you see in Arrow Season 1. Justice is Mine is 55, 56. And Not Job to Drink, that's 57, 58. Predator, Part 1 and Part 2, that's, I think that's like 59 and 60. And then 661 is The Sign of Times and Pitchforks, Torches. Most of it basically, this is just basically you have Green Arrow back being in, Seattle, first time in a year, and this basically is him again back to business, what he was doing prior to him leaving on this whole spiritual journey. And of course, in case you're curious though, about when these issues came out, which of course the book does contain the covers, which I can tell you that. This cover's from late August of 1991. Yeah, we're in the early 90s, mind you. And we go straight into, by issue 62, June of 1982. So yeah, the Green Arrow book is already in the 1990s already. Most of a lot of this stuff is basically like I said, Green Arrow get back to business, basically him being back. And once again, we gotta have a scene where Green Arrow, Black Canary have sex. This actually happens a few times, but not as much as early on. But yeah, and of course, because issue 51, Diana reminds him that of course, Oliver thinks he's still 46, but it turns out he's actually 47 years old. Yes, Oliver Queen is pushing 50. He doesn't look it. His girlfriend, mind you, probably is still in her mid-30s. Yes, so all we expect of a killing in here, though he does get very cleared. He also runs Eddie Fires. Yes, Eddie Fires shows up here. And the way, like I've mentioned before, whenever Eddie Fires shows up, a lot of the time, usually because of a summer story arc. Yes, he usually shows up for the summer months. That's usually whenever he shows up. But this is basically Old Friends. This came out in September of 1992. But yeah, usually he's here for big story arc. That's most of what he's here for. And basically, he does bring up what happened before last time we saw him, which was stuff when he was actually set up for treason, and of course they agreed to work together. And they work together for this quick 2-parter. Yes. There's also symbolism of hanging here. Now, Oliver does not cheat on Black Canary the whole time this whole book. No, he doesn't sleep with anybody else aside from Black Canary. Though the way that the artwork draws his face, he looks older. Yes, Green Arrow looks a lot older. Lucky enough when Canvas basically comes to write the book, he basically hasn't de-aged. Not because basically of the science timescale stuff. It was actually due to when he came back to life. Yep. Yeah. And aside from having Green Arrow, Black Canary, there's like no... The problem, of course, also, here's something for you. Black Canary put on her old costume. Something in this book she very rarely ever did. Yes, on occasion she would put on an attire and participate in the story. A lot of the time it's more Green Arrow stuff than basically Black Canary working with him. Yeah. And then, then we have a scene where, we have Oliver and Diana go camping, where once again they have sex. Yep, they have sex because, of course, it's Mike Grohl. And then we have the last few issues, Sins of the Times. This is actually from the issue 61. This two-parter is about peace movement, all about war. Yeah, but thing is, this is 1992. Yes, this is 1992. Now you might be curious though, is this related to some like... Now normally, the way this stuff is written, it seems like this is possibly related to the 70s, but this is 1992. The only war you may have had at this period of time was Persian Gulf. That was the year prior to this. And maybe there's some other war that needed to be stopped, but... And basically, an okay note here. Pretty good. Give this book a 9.5 out of 10. I still enjoy Mike Roll's run, and I still have one more trade left to get for this run. One trade. And mostly put basically that once I get the last trade in, then I'll be done with Mike Roll's run. But not done with Volume 2. Not by a long shot. Still got a while to go for that one. But this one, this volume is officially done with this trade here. We have Green Arrow, Road to Jericho, collecting issues 60-75 of Green Arrow Volume 3. Essentially put the last 10 issues of the volume. The first story arc in here basically kind of details exactly what Green Arrow was up during a 1 year time skip. Yeah. Basically lots of training going on for a whole year. The last story arc is, well, it takes up issue 71-75, involves him basically being involved where he's running for, there's a recall election going on because it came out, this was mentioned in the book, that he was actually outed as the financer of the Outsiders. And apparently some people didn't like that because apparently they broke the international treaty stuff. Yeah, the Superpowers Treaty, I believe it's called. This was, if I was reading about this, this was established after of Infinite Crisis, and the Justice League was basically immune to this. But the Outsiders, they actually were committing illegal stuff. So, well, not exactly illegal, but they had to go underground because of this stupid treaty. And they all had to fake their deaths. And also, this was a way to write Harper out of the series. But here's kind of the strange thing about this. That just by sheer coincidence, around the same time he was wrapping up this run for his run for this book, he was also wrapping up his run for The Outsiders. Yes, seriously, he was wrapping up his run for The Outsiders. I think they both ended around the same time, but I think also that, if I remember correctly, I think his Outsiders was starting in 03, I think it was. It only lasted for a little over 4 years, and this came out roughly like, 07? Oh, I think it was 08, I think it was, that these issues came out. And mostly put basically, like, this is basically all that stuff there. So, there's a recall election, he's trying to retain his office, but the crooked commissioner, yes, the commissioner that doesn't like Oliver very much, so he actually does a job properly. So, he basically finds a whole bunch of dirt on him. Basically, he allows him to, he tells him to do nothing because basically all relate to Mia. Also, we see return to the story. We see Black Canary return to the series, first time in a while. Though in this book, basically, you could say there actually was an explanation of why she didn't appear this much. Book this very much off these entire 7 issue one. The reason why she appeared that much of this whole run is because she was hanging out with the JSA. Yep, that was simply the reason for it. And since this was basically just coming just after the JSA relaunch as Just Side America, I think if I remember correctly in the book, they had her place taken a team by Power Girl. Yes. And that was where they kind of got back to Birds of Prey, and of course also I think also she also had left Birds of Prey at the same time. So to get back to help Oliver as Green Arrow, work with Mia, Connor, and of course they take on Constantine Drago, frickin' Deathstroke, and of course, they take them down, and of course Oliver decides he's not going to run, but of course he had a friend of his points the head of the city council. Yep, head of the city council. And he decides to publicly say, I'm not going to run, I'm basically going to be resigning effectively, but because he had no deputy mayor, the head of the head of the city council is named new mayor of the city. But he did say, okay, as my last official act as mayor, I'm going to demolish this freaking wall. So basically he has Mia and Connor dressed in Oliver's Green Arrow costume. basically fire exploding trick arrows to demolish the wall. He does point out, though, here's the strange thing. This wall was mysteriously put up during the 1 year time skip. In the book, they never really stated exactly why this wall was put up. It just that it was, for some strange reason. It just was put up completely at random. And to my knowledge, if I get a chance to meet Judd Winick, I will ask him this very question. Whose idea was it to put this wall up, and who in the book basically was going to authorize this damn thing? Because that's a very good question. Because I think that's a question mark. You read this whole run, the post 1 year stuff with Green Arrow, and they don't really explain where this wall came from. It just randomly showed up when Green Arrow came back from being on the island for a year. And it was suggested at the start of the 1 year stuff, I think in the previous trade, where Superman basically offered to demolish the wall for Oliver. It's like, no, not yet. And then eventually, when he finished up as mayor, then he decided to demolish the wall. And not a bad idea. So Oliver's like, okay, he's free from basically the shackle, from his perspective, probably free from being mayor. The wall is down. So what is Oliver going to do? Have a romantic evening with Black Canary, which ends with him proposing her to marry him. Yep, and that's how the final issue ends, with basically we have Green Arrow asking Black Canary to marry him. Which leads to a Black Canary miniseries. From thinking about it and then accepting it, and then of course they had the wedding in the Justice League America wedding special one-shot, and that later led to the really good Green Arrow and Black Canary series, which lasted for 32 issues, though the last 2 issues were not called that. By the way, I give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. It's just really good here. Aside from the fact this is actually the last trade talk with Joe Winnick's run, this artwork in here is done by Scott McDaniel. Scott McDaniel does the cover art here, along with Andy Owens, who's the inker. But yeah, really good stuff here, Scott McDaniel. Of course, this, like I said, led into the 32-issue run for Green Arrow Black Canary, and then Green Arrow Volume 4, which, believe it or not, that was actually the run I was publishing at the time when I got into DC Comics, because I got 3 franchises when I started DC Comics 2010. Batman, Green Lantern, and Green Arrow, because they're friendship with each other. Eventually got the other ones, and I read from that point forward, from Volume 4. To this day, I have read every issue of Green Arrow published to date, and with this trade here, I have reviewed everything released for Green Arrow from the period of 2001 to 2019. Yes, seriously, all that stuff is all done. So, you're probably thinking, what else did I talk about for Green Arrow? Because you've covered pretty much almost this entire ongoing series. That's definitely true. I definitely have. The only thing left to go is the original volume from the early 80s, and the second volume, which I'm still reviewing. I reviewed, I'd say, most of it so far, but not all of it. There is still one more trade left to go for Mike Girl's run for Green Arrow, and that's it. The only thing I have reviewed aside from Mike Girl's run is whenever a crossover with Flash. Yeah, and that was it for that one. But my final thoughts on Green Arrow Volume 3, which I have thoroughly enjoyed reviewing this 75-issue volume over the course of a series of trades. Here's the dumb thing about this run is that not all the issues are in trade. If you think about, out of 75 issues, guess how many number of issues are not in trade? And I'm going to reveal it to you. It's quite a strange number. Yes, out of 75 issues. Yes, 75. There is approximately... Okay, there is 4, 5, 6... There are a total number of 7 out of 75 issues not in trade. Still, to this day, they've never put these issues in trade. Do not know why. You would think in the case of the issues that came after Joe Winick, they would put it in there, but nope, not really. They wouldn't do that. And of course, we had many really good writers. You had, of course, the only writers people think of when it comes to this book is Kevin Smith, Brad Meltzer, and Joe Winick. There was also Ben Rabb. And there was also issues who basically wrote the Green Arrow part of the storyline Black Circle with Green Lantern, which later led to Judd Winick basically becoming the writer of the book. And of course, basically his first story he did will be followed up with the final story he did for Outsiders, which is quite nice. Though he did make a slight error with that one, where he said that Joanna, who is actually Black Lightning's niece, he referred to her as basically his daughter, which is weird to say the least. And here's the strange thing about this book. In case you're curious though, like, does Green Arrow ever tell Black Canary that he slept with Joanna Price? Joanna Pierce? No. He only admitted that to one person, and that was Mia Dearden. And that was it. To my knowledge, he never admitted that to Jefferson, never admitted to Roy or Connor, just to Mia. That's the only person he ever told. And, of course, he immediately regretted it. And it's almost like it's a plot point that's not really followed up with. And the whole thing with investigating his death, like her death, it's like basically Winick basically resolved that in his final arc for Outsiders. And that came before that came before his crossover Checked Out with Checkman, which is awesome, by the way. Yeah, but not much to say about this book. It's really good. So that's going to be pretty much the episode review. Next episode is going to be 2 straight manga reviews. First episode is going to be Hunter x Hunter. Okay, next video. Bye.